Okay, with Adam Wakeling, documentary filmmaker, the Inga Tree Model 2025 is the short film played at the Environmental Festival. Tell us what the Inga Tree Model is. What is that? What is that all about?
I think the easiest way to describe it is basically an agroforestry system that enables the reconstitution, the refertilization, the recreation of fertile soil where once before was basically, you know, um, a basically destroyed landscape through slash and burn farming.
Okay, so then what was your then for obvious question, what was the motivation to make this film?
I've been working with the Inga Foundation since 2007. I made a feature documentary called Up in Smoke that was finished in 2011.
Not the Cheech
Uh,
and Chong movie, the a different movie.
Not the Chi, yeah, a different one. That was the executive producer's decision to call it that. I wanted to call it something else, but I think it was quite smart of her, actually.
Yeah.
And that basically put me in touch with Mike Hands for the first time. I read an article about him and got in touch with him and went to speak to him. I'd never made a film before, I'd never picked up a camera before, but I borrowed one and interviewed him. And he told me everything about what was happening in Honduras and the result of all of the work they'd been doing in Costa Rica, all the work he'd done in Cambridge, all of the work he'd done to try and prove the science behind what he was trying to do. And he said that they were implementing it in Honduras, and I didn't believe him, and he said, "Well, go and see." So I went, and that began a 5 year process, basically, to finish this first feature documentary. And so that came out in 2011, and it did really well. I mean, it won no, it won six international awards. It was broadcast in 35 countries. And it basically, as Mike Hands, I think will be prepared to admit, he said it put them on the map. Um, After it was screened in the UK before the UK broadcast, Vivienne Westwood was there watching it, and she got in touch with me and with Mike and said, "Look, what can I do to help?" And she funded the production of a didactic version of the film, which was to be screened to farmers. And that was dubbed into seven languages, and that really helped. And so, 10 years on, Mike got in touch with me again and
So were
said,
you,
"Look,
but during after the movie, because according to IMDb, you don't have any credits after that. Were you making movies after Up in Smoke? Because it was like, right, it was a huge hit. Were you,
mm,
like, what were you doing in the meantime between this
I,
film?
I, I spent 3 years basically on another feature documentary, which unfortunately I never finished due to a number of different circumstances. But that was about changing economic systems. That was basically a film about no growth economics or
It's it's a fascinating subject. It's hard to get a visual understanding of it, I guess. But
well, I
are
mean,
you going to finish that film?
we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. It got to the stage where I just couldn't fund it anymore, and
Okay,
I was
gotcha.
falling to bits. And then I became a voice actor, which I still do now. That's my earning job. So a voice actor and a sound designer. So but I am in production on a follow-up to Up in Smoke. And this little 9 minute film is basically I cut for the Inga Foundation
Yeah.
because there's my camera work is better, the my ability to be able to shoot is better, and I've this is just a small taster, if you will, for the Ink Foundation to be able to get their message out there
Gotcha.
while I'm
No,
making
it's
this
like it's
feature.
almost like a proof of concept of like we could tell a larger story about this subject.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to go back. So voicecraft.online, that's your website for your voiceover work, right?
It is. I'm currently in the stages of completely of creating an actual studio, so that website's hopelessly out of date. But I'm finishing building right now as we speak, and yeah, that will be rebranded and rebuilt. So yeah.
So you're doing so do you, would you would voice over your own documentaries, I guess. You're free labor.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I do voiceover for a lot of other documentaries and a lot of other productions,
Yeah.
so it's worked well so far. That is my voice in the film.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, yeah, it's something I love actually.
So from a storytelling standpoint, because we do like poetry movies, so we have a regular voiceover actress, and my understanding with her is that she just her level of storytelling knowledge every time she does something, it just like what works, what doesn't work. I'm assuming that you have a vast understanding of storytelling by doing voiceovers for all these projects and documentaries.
It develops along the
Yeah.
way. I think the one thing is that how can I put this? I mean, um, I think it's easier to voice other projects than it is one's own. Um, but the film that's now in production, I mean, that will feature my voice, but it's different in the regards that it's more of a guide, but it's also a very personal story because a lot of things have happened in Honduras to the characters that were in the first film, and it's turned into much more of a drama, really, a lot more about a story about life and death and love and renewal, really, because what the system really does, the magic of what it does, as I touched upon it in the film, is what it's doing to the soils itself. It's this ability to revitalize the kind of fungal communities in the soil, the basis of which all of our agriculture depends, not just in the tropics.
Obviously a timely subject, right? To say the
Very
least.
much so, I think.
Yeah. All right. So tell me about making this film itself. So you went down to Honduras. What was your game plan like in terms of capturing footage, how long the film was going to be, the story that you were going to tell? Did you have a game plan?
I didn't, not at all. This footage has all come from what I've shot in the three trips so far that I've made in the last 2 years to Honduras. No, four trips, sorry. Um, so I've been going there with the express intention of gathering the material to make a feature documentary. But it did occur to me that basically, while that's happening and that's taking longer than I expected, as it always does,
Yeah.
um, that the Inga Foundation needs and deserves to be able to get some of this information, some of this imagery out there now. So I cut a much shorter 3-minute film based around one particular character, and that was aired in a different kind of more corporate or institutional context.
Okay.
But there's a mass of other material that I have, and I will be starting to roll that out across social media and across the Inga Foundation website, and it's that's going to form more of a backbone to demonstrating what it is that the Inga Foundation's doing, the ability, the what it's actually doing on the ground.
So what did the foundation, do they have like instructions for what you have to do for the foundation?
No, not necessarily. That's developing. I want to
Yeah.
become, more involved in the foundation itself.
Yeah.
I think I've spent so long getting to know the people on the ground, understanding Mike Hands and who he is, and also the technical aspects of what it is that alley-cropping with Inga does. At the moment, it's exploding out into all sorts of different ways and means of using the system, including regrowing tropical timber, avoiding pest infections, infestations of that timber. They're using it now with coffee, which is going very well. So that could transform how coffee is produced. They're also doing the same with cacao, which is possibly going to solve a major problem. They're doing tests on their cacao right now, scientific tests to see whether their cacao can actually be healthier than the majority that's already produced. So this is going in all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
It really is phenomenal. From a tiny charity, I think it's going to come very, very big things.
So you can go to ingafoundation.org to learn more about it. So it was like it started in 2012. They're supporting, I guess the main agenda is supporting farmers, right? Uh,
Supporting farmers, but also the Inc. Foundation's drafting out now a very large scale or now a small scale educational program. They're involved with a number of different major producers in Honduras and also now Nicaragua and Guatemala, and they're training their agronomists to work with the small farmers that are producing for them for worldwide sale, for worldwide export.
yeah.
And so it's becoming more of a model that people can learn from and then take elsewhere and then replicate. So it's expanding by extension in that regard.
So the interesting thing about your film is that sometimes like keeping carbon on the ground, like terms like that can be like confusing to the average viewer. But you tell emotional stories. So when you individualize the journey, like you're telling a story about these people in Honduras, it adds the emotional understanding. So then the information that you're hoping, I'm just like assuming this is what the agenda is. The information of what you're hoping is that you want people to understand is coming out with these characters, I guess, with these films.
I think that's an easier way of getting people to engage in stories that they would
100%.
otherwise
Yeah.
think is just so far away from them. I mean, we are no different to them. We all need and want the same things. You know, Maslow said we need the basics, and we all have those hopes and dreams, just like these guys. But the difference is that these guys actually hold a lot of power in their hands, because they're the stewards of that landscape. We're not.
100%. So what do you mean by that? Like this, like in terms of power and stewards of the landscape?
Well, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of power games in play in these countries, not just Honduras, but small farmers are basically marginalized, and their votes are bought at the right times, and otherwise they're just left to themselves, left to their own devices. They're not helped, they're not supported. There's no social safety net in many of these places. And by basically empowering these farmers, and I know everyone throws that word around a lot,
Yeah.
but genuine empowerment and genuine development basically means autonomy. And if these farmers don't have to rely on pesticides or fertilizers, if these farmers can better utilize their land rather than destroying whatever's on it and then having to go forward and destroy more, it actually has a massive social impact as well because they can start earning money. They have stability. They are autonomous. And if they are that, then you start seeing a slight change in what it is that these farmers think about themselves and
Yeah.
think about what it is that they need to do or can do. You know, they feel very small, uneducated. They feel threatened and fragile, but they are anything but when they learn to work with nature rather than fear it.
Yeah. So right now you have the film Up in Smoke on your YouTube channel. People can just
I
watch it
do.
on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, yeah. It's there for free now. You can watch it with English subtitles in Spanish, dubbed in Spanish, even with German and French. I need to get the French version up there, but
Yeah.
it's available everywhere. So it's all free.
You got to get the
Once one,
Mandarin version too, right? So
there is actually a Mandarin version as well.
okay,
It's
good.
incredible. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's like the English and Mandarin. You got half the world right there, right? So
There we go. Yeah, yeah. And the
yeah,
Spanish kind of does the rest. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. Then yeah, those yeah. Okay. So then you have that. There's a link on the site where people can link it. So I guess that's your job within the Inga Foundation is I'm assuming is creating films, creating content for them.
Absolutely. It may develop into more than that. Let's
Yeah.
see. I'm very keen on. I worked in television distribution for 10 years and international co-production and distribution. So I'm very keen to to be able to use this and maybe, the past that I have in sales to get the Ink Foundation out and maybe raise funds for them as well. Because with more money and more expansion, um, there's a definite there's a really really bright future. I think what the Ink Foundation really needs is some institutional help, some marketing help, some
Sure.
so if there's anyone out there,
Yeah.
and I will say this openly because if there's anyone out there that feels that they can help, um, I'd be really interested to hear from them, as would Mike.
I'm not like the one of the thing that always shocks me is because there, I guess there's no money to be made, is the news organizations don't talk about these things. They
Mm,
never bring up the environment. They never bring up, maybe sometimes, right? But basically, it's never, even in political debates, it's kind of not even talked about anymore. It's kind of crazy. And I guess my point is that the more the debate kind of, or not even debate, but the more the conversation is talked about, the more the Inga Foundation and this information gets exposed. That's just from my perspective.
I think that's right. I mean, bad news sells, sadly. Good news is slightly
Unfortunately,
more.
this is bad news in a lot of ways, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's people like talking about that. But what
Yeah,
Up in Smoke did show is that people do want to feel encouraged and do want to hear about the good news and do want to do something about it.
yeah. No,
Um,
yeah,
and it really works. I mean, the film directly or indirectly
yeah.
over 10 years helped raise over $1 million for the Inga
That's amazing.
Foundation.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why I think a follow-up is overdue. And secondly, that what they're doing is working.
Yeah, 100%. And okay, so let's talk about the film itself because it's really well photographed. It's nice storytelling. Like, do you have a team of people that like, or a person that like in terms of like your production and helps you make these films?
No, it's just me.
So you're making these, you're shooting these films yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nice job on you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's really because it's like you really get in there and you kind of like you really know your lenses and really know how to get into the emotional context of the story. Did you like you self-taught?
Yeah, actually, I was a photographer for a while,
Yeah,
but I did teach myself. So I mean, Up in Smoke was kind of my film school, and and that is nothing like this. I was shooting on a little mini DV camera and
yeah.
deeply frustrated at that, but that's what I had, and that's what it was. So there we go. But
But,
um, but yeah,
but at the same time, you're not overly in like your subjects are not getting overwhelmed by, hey, I'm on camera, right? Like where if you're using these mini devices, it kind of helps to that's what I've heard from other documentary filmmakers is that it kind of like they almost forget the camera's even there.
well, they do once you get to know them, and
Yeah,
I speak Spanish. I know these people. I'm a known face in that landscape,
yeah,
and it makes it a lot easier.
yeah,
But it's speaking the language, and also I think it depends about how you come across. I'm not there pointing a camera at them to try and extract or monetize them. I love being around them, and I hopefully I give. There's the camera, the lens is more of a membrane, really,
yeah.
and and I genuinely enjoy. Uh, I love their company. I think they're amazing people, and I think there's respect there, and that makes it easier.
Have they watched this film and in other kind of footage that you shot?
They all watched Up in Smoke, and
Yeah,
they were pretty delighted with that. And again, I mean, Up in Smoke was not meant to show people as anything other than who they are,
yeah,
and it's trying to bring across the humanity of people rather than saying he's a poor farmer. There was no pity involved in it, and I think they've seen bits and pieces of this, and they play up to the camera as well. I mean, they enjoy it
sure.
sometimes. So
It's the world that we live in now, right? So
sure, exactly.
everybody's been photographed. Doesn't matter where, what country, in a sense, right? So
Well, they film themselves as well,
yeah,
and they
that's what
film
I
stuff
mean. Yeah,
themselves on their phone. So I mean,
yeah,
it's that fourth that wall is starting to break down, you know.
All that said, though, it's still a different culture. It's still a different ideology. Like the mental, like you're UK, I'm Canadian, but we still have that capitalistic pursuits. I guess that's ideologized in our brains. I don't
True,
maybe.
true. At the same time, though, it's you know, they want the finer things in life as well. I mean,
Yeah,
they're growing crops to sell them, not just to eat, you
sure.
know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're very happy about. I mean, there's a lovely story about Martin,
yeah,
one of the farmers who did appear in this briefly, but he's with the sale of his crops that he's now and no, with the sale of four timber trees that are 10 years old that he began growing with the system. He's selling them and buying himself a pickup truck so that he can deliver stuff himself and not rely on anyone else.
yeah.
And he knows, you know, he knows trees, money, happy, relaxed retirement. You know, there's not many
Yeah.
slash and burn farmers who can say that.
That's great. Yeah. Well, that's how it should be in a sense, right?
This is
Right.
it.
And
Right.
does he have a like a protege, like someone who can help him take over when he retires?
He does, his son.
Yeah.
And his son is also featuring heavily in this new
Yeah.
film.
There you
It's one
go.
of these cycle stories of cycle.
Yeah, that's sort of what happens, right? So, okay,
Mhm.
so what's next for you? What are you doing next? Are you gonna you're going back, or you're making more films, or you got the footage and you're making a
Well,
bigger.
I'm trying. Things change very fast on the ground then. So the narrative arc that one has in mind when one begins isn't necessarily always the one that one can stick with because life happens.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that now. I'm trying to raise funding again, which is a painful, slow process. I mean, simple as that. Fundraising to make documentary films is a process.
But the Inga Foundation's your kind of producer, right, in a sense.
Well, it's not for the Inga Foundation, but
Okay.
in a way it is. But it's not, again, I hope it doesn't end up being a campaigning film per se.
Yeah.
It's more really a story with some universal elements in it around it. And you know, the upshot is basically people need to see what they're doing, know more about them, support them if they see the film and want it and want to do so. But also, I think to think a bit more deeply about who they are and what role we play in the world. You know, because that's really what Up in Smoke tried to show as well. We're all the same, we just don't listen very hard. And I think at this point in time, Jesus, where we are in the world right now, there's a lot less people listening to other people than ever before, I think, or listening to what's
We're
going
all
on
in
to
our
the
own
world.
little bubbles in a sense, right? So,
Yeah, and I think it's really important fundamentally to listen and see more.
yeah.
There's a lot we can do
Yeah.
um, than
Well, if you
just
could
think about
figure out
ourselves.
if you could figure out like how to do that, fix
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
then,
I mean, yeah, yeah.
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 Because
Maybe
it's
make
a
a film.
mad world out there, right? So
It
yeah,
certainly is.
and
It
it's
certainly is.
and the algorithms are programmed for us to be in the bubble, right? So
Mm,
unfortunately, but that's
mm.
a whole other subject, right? So
It certainly is. We can
yeah.
save it for the next film.
All right. So congratulations on the film. It's fantastic. And then you're doing your studio right now for your voiceover. So you seem very busy. So I
Mm.
appreciate your time and love to see what you do next. I'd love to see other videos. So let's keep in touch and we'd love to help promote and help you in any way.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.